You might know her as the former head of the Malta Chamber of SMEs. Abigail Agius Mamo is now a business advisor. And she's been speaking about some interesting topics recently. Abigail, thank you for coming on the WhosWho Talks podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So we have to jump into kind of like one of the hottest topics right now. Social media is flooded with reactions to the gender quota, how it was implemented, this famous mechanism. Obviously, you made a post, you had a bit to say about this. So first of all, are Malta's gender quotas insulting to women?
I do feel insulted by the gender quotas. I know that this is not shared by everyone because even the female lobbies feel that this is a just system to have in place at the moment. But I do see many women and also many men and also other organizations saying it is not fitting in today's society. So while females were regarding as the weaker sex along many years past, today we don't feel that that is a just representation of females, and this is exactly, in my opinion, what it's a stereotype. It's an outdated stereotype that it is reinforcing. So females no longer need a helping hand. I don't feel that there is this judgment against women, and it's because you are female that you're not being elected. And to add insult to injury, then it is working against females because voters, I think, are getting this lax feel that female will be elected automatically because of the gender mechanism. So
true.
why vote for females? Let's vote for males. And it's pushing females even further down in the polls, which is counterproductive to what it should be doing. So yes, it is very insulting in this day and age, and it gives the wrong impression
Yep.
to even younger potential future voters.
Now, to play devil's advocate, obviously the mechanism was first put in place to, by hook or by crook, get more females into parliament. Whatever way we can get them in there, right? So that was the decision made. And I think this year there were 12 females elected
Yeah,
by this
12,
mechanism,
12.
6 PN, 6
The maximum amount.
PL. And one thing we'll get into it is how third parties are also left out of this mechanism. But anyway, let's talk about these 12. Some of them didn't even get that many votes, right? They got, arguably a handful of votes and they still got elected. And now for 4 or 5 years, they're representing the country.
Well, literally 10 handfuls, right? I mean, there's 100 votes.
100 votes. So people got elected into parliament with around 100, 150 votes.
Yeah, 150 votes, 200. I mean, it seems a little bit quite undemocratic. I'm not going to lie, because I know the NMP is elected to represent the public, and that's what the whole point of voting for people. So if somebody just has 200 votes, it's
Is that a fair
it's not-
representation of the country?
It's not, right?
It is an output of the gender corrective mechanism, which is part of the way it is shaped. Did it bring to light certain ridiculous situations that we are facing and is causing a bit of criticism from the general public, showing, listen, other people who have been voted more have been left out. So how come this person has made it through? So it boils down again to unfairness. So why would someone that has actually gotten more votes remained out? It happened with the case of Sandra. Sandra Gauci. It happened with the case of other males that have gotten more votes. So it is an artificial system that we're working with, and this is the result. We then need to handle these situations which are far from ideal, and it gives completely the wrong impression, I believe. And this is the highest and I think most critical institution in Malta that we're doctoring with,
Wow.
Yeah.
which is
There's
not
also, there's
fitting.
also, there's also the reality, which is like, okay, even if you accept the premise of the need for gender quotas, to get more women in by hook or by crook, like you said, once they've been in parliament, they'll have a 4 years or 5 years to show people what they're made of, to show people what they can do, to prove to people that, you should have voted me in because I'm doing a very good job. And to be fair, some of the women who were elected by gender quota 4 years ago were elected on their own steam this time around. People like Naomi Kaki and Ivo Bonello. But then there were others who were elected by quota the first time round and were elected by quota again 4 years later. So they're going to end up spending 8 or 9 years in parliament by virtue of this gender quota mechanism. They barely need to do anything,
Wow.
I feel that underlines a very important point in this, that it will still be based on merit. So even though we get women in by hook or by crook, as long as we get the numbers, we have the bodies in parliament, but then at the end of the day, when it comes to the next election, people will elect the people that they trust more, that they have more visibility of what they have been doing. So it will still be based on merit. Otherwise, it is stuck in that manufactured system of the gender corrective mechanism. So it continues underlining the fact that voters are not biased against gender. They will vote for who they believe has merit to enter parliament. So that's not what we need to fix. It's not the numbers that we need to fix. It's making it more accessible for women to participate more. That is what we need to fix. And I believe that the gender corrective mechanism is a medium of alienation. That gives us the number that we are after. Okay, it's 19% this year.
Headlines.
Yeah.
And we can climb up the rankings.
Up from 13%, we're 19% with this whole
I think what happened was
system that we have in place. And we don't have a better system to make women participate more, to have even quality males participate more, because in reality it's very difficult to participate in politics and to run as an MP. There are many structural barriers that you need to overcome, which are very, very difficult, and we didn't do anything about that.
So let's talk about these barriers. I mean, you had mentioned the wages, right? That the MPs need to be paid higher. Do you have like a ballpark figure? How much do you think an MP should be paid to attract women?
I don't think it's just about attracting women. It's about attracting quality people.
Yes, fair enough.
And it needs to be packed with the responsibility that there is, in relation to being an MP. So it needs to be in parallel with other jobs at the same level.
100K, how much?
I wouldn't go to 100K. I think a very small study would give us a real ideal figure. I don't want to pin it to an amount, but it needs to be a competitive wage that makes it worthwhile. Otherwise, there will be a series of unfortunate events that will ensue because you're being underpaid compared to the effort that you're putting in. And it's not just the effort, it's the responsibility. It's the public visibility and scrutiny. It is also leaving your family by the side to be able to participate in politics and being an MP because of the after hours and everything. So I don't think that in this day and age we should have that kind of system. We speak so much about work-life balance, family-friendly measures. If we can't implement it there, how are we going to implement it anywhere else if we can't implement it there where our policymakers sit? So it's family-friendly measures are okay for anyone else, but not for policymakers, which is ridiculous.
I think there's something that we have in this country. It's kind of like we haven't understood that if you pay peanuts, you're going to get monkeys. And I think in Parliament, in all businesses, but
Are you saying there are monkeys in Parliament?
I'm saying if you pay low, you're not going to get the best. But there might be some gorillas and some orangutans running around.
Not everyone affords to make that. Some professionals afford to say, listen, I'm going to do this as my main route. It will eventually also feed into because there is the visibility and everything. So it's like an investment, but not everyone affords to do it. And that's why probably we end up attracting the same professions to Parliament.
Yeah.
There's a whole system that is not really balanced, and it's not openly making it accessible to everyone, which is a very big missed opportunity.
One thought that I keep having is kind of like, shouldn't we be aiming to attract the best talent across the board, the best people we have in Malta and Gozo. And I'm not sure the gender quota does that. It actually might send a message that you don't need to be the best, you just need to be the right person kind of to fit the bill. Is that a worry or a concern you have?
I do have a concern that even when MPs tend to be role models, okay, and I have had a conversation with someone recently who told me, but it's very important for our 12-year-olds to look at MPs and say, listen, yes, I can participate in Parliament because I see women being represented. And I really appreciate this argument of role models. It's real. But if the 12-year-old grows up and wants to participate in Parliament and finds then all these structural difficulties to
Yes.
participate, what have we fixed? We have created this notion which is unrealistic and which unfortunately continues to reinforce that stereotype that women will be given a helping hand because they need a helping hand because there is this voter bias
crazy.
against women,
That's crazy, yeah.
which is not what we want. And with the rate that we're going at, it will take us till 2050. So the Malta 2050
Vision.
the Vision 2050 will still require a gender corrective mechanism. We will not have reached equality. So what are we doing exactly? And again, we're not doing anything about the structural difficulties that we have. So this number doctoring exercise, I think, is very damaging. In Maltese, we say bżar flying.
That's it.
We're
Yeah.
trying to alienate people from where the problems are. We're not tackling it.
To be honest, I think it was just there used to be these rankings, right, in the of women's participation in Parliament, and Malta was at the very bottom of the list. There were like these African countries who
Yeah.
some people never heard of,
Yeah.
quite ahead of us as well.
Yeah.
So I think the people in charge are a little bit embarrassed at this, especially since Malta was advancing in other sectors as well, and climbing up like the LGBT plus ranking.
But they might have been a bit premature on this.
Yeah. No, but I genuinely think that's the
Yes,
reason it was done,
absolutely.
though.
And premature in the sense that we have not put in the real work
That's
to be
it.
able
Yeah.
to say, listen, the other things failed. Let's try something which to me is very unnatural. And there's a lot of damage that can be done when you do something very unnatural. And we have not done the real work. We have a similar case study in Malta, very different, in terms of women participating in the workplace.
Okay.
We did not force anyone to employ a percentage of women and things like that. We removed the structural difficulties. When it comes to family responsibilities, women traditionally end up carrying more. So it's not that there is a specific bias against women or women can't work as well as men, but since they end up doing the more traditional roles of family rearing and things like that, they end up participating less. But there was the structural fix that happened in terms of childcare centers, and that service has developed quite a bit and extended its accessibility, and women flooded the labor market. It was within a couple of years the dramatic impact. We went from being bottom of list to being top of the list participating because we fixed the
With a
structural.
good system, exactly.
Yes.
With a proper system.
We made it accessible.
And no one
We
forced them.
supported families, not just women.
Interesting.
We supported families.
So how can we implement that? We get a childcare center for Parliament? What are we doing?
We do need a childcare
It's actually
center
not a
for
bad idea. I'm
we
sure it
do.
would help,
We
actually.
do. Yes, we do need it.
Interesting.
We do need it.
Interesting.
And again, not just for women, for men as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. Support families.
Yes.
Interesting.
If
That's a
we're-
good perspective.
I come from a mentality where I don't see a distinction between males and females when it comes to family responsibilities.
Good.
So for me, it's very challenging to understand how come males are acquitted from their job in caring for the children. So yes, if my husband had to go to Parliament on days
Yeah.
when he needs to care for the children because I'm doing something else, he would need a childcare in Parliament to be able to handle both aspects of his life.
Process.
So, yeah.
Brilliant.
So the election was almost a month ago now. Things have calmed down, and we have our parliament, gender quotas elected, and otherwise. What do you think was the biggest lesson that the election gave the country?
I think this election was very interesting in terms of a dynamic because it was quieter. It was very fast, over a month. It was quieter in terms of the level of the parties attacking each other. I think there was, it was a bit of a higher level. It didn't go down on the personal
Thank
and the
God.
technical,
Yeah.
which is nice to
Thank
see.
God.
But at the same time, we felt that there was a competition. We felt that it wouldn't be a complete like walkover. What I mean to say is that we felt that there was an opposition participating, which is something a little bit more recent.
Yes, we've been missing him for a few years.
Yes, it felt, and it gave, I think, both parties the level of energy and this competing attitude between them, which was nice to see. This election was fought out. It wasn't just an election, just to have an election after a number of years, or it wasn't hijacked by maybe other issues.
Yeah.
It was like a proper election being fought out.
But at the end of the day, the result was what it was. I mean, the gap was smaller, but it's still
Still a landslide.
It's still a landslide.
It is quite the difference in votes is still quite significant, but it doesn't take away from the fact that there was an opposition being felt.
Yeah.
There was ground that was gained. Obviously, in terms of the Labour government, they had the fourth consecutive win, which was obviously a historical result. But there was this bit of a healthier feel, I felt.
Yeah.
I like balance. I like the fact that no party can take it for granted,
Yeah.
that the parties have to be kept accountable, and they need to feel that they are accountable to the people. So even though this is not a small difference between the parties, I believe it is a little bit more controllable than what we had before, which is a bit healthier than what we had.
Fair enough, but in terms of the wider landscape, it doesn't look like anything's going to change anytime soon. I mean, even if the PN did happen to win the election, the two parties have converged on most...
Centrist.
They've converged on most of the big issues. Like, they both agree on free education, free healthcare, EU accession, even civil liberties, they're all in favor of them. Abortion, they're both against. The economic model, no one's advocating a return to communism. Is this a good thing for the country? I mean, in terms of business stability, perhaps, or is it something that is a little bit concerning, that we're just maybe stuck in this status quo?
Malta is in a very good economic position at the moment, so we don't have much room to fight about in terms of how we're going to change dramatically what is happening in Malta, and that is good for our business. What we have seen is that following election, the Prime Minister has been quite vocal in terms of the targets that are being put in place, and also the direction and the importance the government is giving, at least on paper and at least in terms of what he has communicated so far. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, so we will need to see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he said that there will be a well-being index focusing on health, on job satisfaction, on education. And this well-being index has been something that has been mentioned time and time again, because we always measure Malta's success in terms of GDP. And we're doing really well in terms of GDP. So during the first quarter of this year, Malta surpassed by fivefold what other European countries have gained in terms of GDP growth. So the average was 0.8% in the euro area and the eurozone, and in Malta it was about 3.9%. So
what was the biggest driver of that? Is it tourism, development? What's driving us to be 5 times everyone else?
the biggest driver remains financial services and consumption, which is where our biggest vulnerabilities. So those are our biggest successes, but are also our biggest vulnerabilities and some undesired effects that come out of it as well. So that is where we need to see how we're going to reroute in parallel to what we're doing. We're not going to stop what we're doing, but we need to diversify, and we need to be sure to not remain dependent on those vulnerable sectors, because the vulnerabilities are very real at the moment.
You're very close to businesses. You keep your ear on the ground, even though you're no longer involved in the chamber. For you personally, and also for businesses, is there a litmus test? Is there a certain thing or certain number of things you need to see from Robert Abela and his administration over the coming 4 years, business-wise?
So, from a business point of view, I think there are a number of concerns in relation to, obviously, traffic. It's not just business.
Okay, traffic, yeah.
But obviously, it costs each and every one of us, including businesses.
Yeah.
Finding human resources remains very tricky. So, even though we have a situation of overpopulation, businesses are still struggling to find the right resources. So,
Why?
there's a gap somewhere. Especially when it comes to technical people, businesses struggle to find technical people, technical resources. This is not happening just in Malta, it's happening in all the world and the EU. So we need to find a way how to make this less difficult in Malta, because human resources are even more scarce in Malta with the high employment rate that we have, with the slow rate of how we replace employees because of the local population and our birth rates and everything. So we struggle a little bit more in Malta. So those two elements are, I think, critical. Now, diversification is very important as well for business. It's very good that we have a strong financial sector and gaming sector, and Malta is one of the most competitive and attractive jurisdictions when it comes to tax and attracting these companies from these sectors. But relying too much on those sectors means that if something had to change when it comes to Malta's taxation, and there are a lot of pressures happening at the moment, Malta will end up in a very dire situation, because most of these companies will probably leave.
The pressures we're still saying with the United Nations or the OECD, they want to impose a minimum global taxation rate, right?
Yes.
So that nobody will be able to to benefit from good tax deals in other countries.
Yes.
Which is I think it's quite outrageous, to be honest, something like this. I mean, at the end of the day, you're telling countries that they don't have jurisdiction over their own affairs.
Yes, indeed. At the same time, I do understand the cry maybe of other countries, but in reality, Malta has very limited things that it can do to attract foreign investment. We need to start getting smarter in attracting foreign investment that does not, at the end of the day, require massive employment and massive space to operate. And I know the government is working on this, but in no way is it balancing the Malta's dependence on the financial services sector. We need to start branching and strengthening, but really strengthening, sectors that will create an equilibrium in the diversification of Malta's economic model.
Would you advise someone to start up a business from scratch in this day and age? If so, in what sector?
Even a small business.
I would. I see every business that I touch with, I see a lot of opportunities. So businesses today struggle with handling internal resources. They struggle with a level of regulatory compliance. But when it comes to demand is very strong. So it is a very good moment to be in business.
Is there a sector, or is there a couple of sectors that you're seeing in Malta that are growing or like kind of stable and safe to enter in, from your experience?
The most interesting, I think, phenomenon I'm seeing is that some companies are really investing on the digital aspect. So they might be in sectors which are quite common and even saturated in Malta, but those that are really investing digitally, both in terms of how they operate. So reviewing their processes internally and seeing what AI can do, what can be automated, how they're going to make the process even less bureaucratic. And also the way they service consumers. Today, consumers demand that the digital aspect and the interaction is at par with
quick.
those of other countries,
Absolutely,
very quick, always accessible, and you get what you need immediately.
Interesting. So digital, nice. I mean, fair.
What are like the more basic aspects and more traditional aspects, like how to treat a consumer well, rather than just going digital and focusing everything on AI? I think we need to make sure not to lose these basic principles as well. Don't treat your customer right,
I think
respond to him quickly.
that is very fair. And I think it's very short-sighted because just because we have an extensive level of consumption because of the number of people we have in Malta, because of the population level, it's very easy to get your share out of it.
Yeah.
But it won't last if you are not giving a very good service.
Absolutely.
And also Malta does have a reputation of being an expensive country.
Yeah.
But then that expense needs to be met with a level of standard that is high and quality that's high, because otherwise we will not get the returning tourists, especially the higher paying ones, which is where we're all the time talking that we need to direct the country. But the private sector needs in some areas to step up its effort, because we do go to Dubai, we do go to Switzerland, and we know how expensive these countries are. But the level of service is pretty impeccable.
No.
The cleanliness you feel, the orderly
If you go on Are You
country
Being
you
Served,
feel.
if you go on the Facebook group Are You Being Served, any day of the week, there's complaints about big brands, outlets, restaurants, and it's always just like a very basic lack of understanding service. Even hellos, goodbyes, please, thank yous. If someone makes a complaint nowadays, so many restaurants, instead of just apologizing, they'll come up with an excuse. Oh, the chef burnt the pizza or whatever. And it's really like childish, I don't want to hear your excuse. I want to get my food. So I think like if the government can put something in place to just raise service, because traditionally Maltese people were seen as like this really friendly, come on my boat, I'll take you wherever. But that's gone. I feel like we've completely lost that aspect of the Maltese culture where it's just serve the customer, replace that table, get them in, get them out.
But there's also like you catch a cab and he'll just start driving up before you even put your seatbelt on. I mean, it's small things like that add up. Or you're at a shop and you're going to pay and doesn't even look at you.
Yeah, no, please, no, thank you.
He's on his phone the whole time.
Like anytime my mother goes to a shop and they don't say please, thank you, she'll tell me. People notice these things.
And you mentioned social media. And we were talking about consumer expectation when it comes to the digital aspect. Consumers today are very digital savvy. So people do the research before. They check reviews, they check complaints before buying. So yes, it does help a lot. It's not just about being nicer or being fairer. It helps the bottom line a lot.
Absolutely.
If you invest well in the service that you give. Word of mouth is still extremely strong in Malta.
Everything, kollash.
To be fair, businesses are struggling with human resources. And when I'm saying are struggling with human resources, they're getting a lot of turnover, especially in the sectors we mentioned now.
It's hard to train them.
It's very hard to train them because by the time you finish training, they leave, you start again. It's not an easy thing to deal with.
Yes.
But again, you need to find a way. I do work with some sectors that have realized that they can change certain strategies to be able to retain more, and they are able to succeed when it comes to consumer service. It's not just run of the mill, keep on doing what we're doing. You need to think about it, you need to make a strategy, and you need to implement it, and you'll get a different result.
So it seems like every few weeks a brand starts, either opens up in Malta or expands its presence here. I mean, they're obviously doing it for a reason. They're popular for a reason. People like them. But, in terms of, the market is what it is. And if the more popular they get, the more competition these smaller one man or one family shows.
Mom and pop shops.
Yeah, exactly. The more traditional Maltese stores, right? Get El Grocer, like the general store, and in fact, you're seeing a lot of them closing down.
Yeah,
are we going to enter an age where it's just the brands?
Brands do get a very big advantage, and it is a pity that we see the corner shops closing. They're up against a very big challenge. And they need to do some work themselves as well to be able to be there, like conveniently, according to the people's convenience and needs. Recently, I am traveling this summer, like many of us do during the summer break. And I was looking up because my kids are gluten intolerant, and I'm
Okay.
looking where I need to buy certain things for them because they're always needing snacks. And I'm following pages from this country where I'm going. And I saw a lot of people advocating support the smaller shops, don't go to these big supermarkets, big brands. I think that is something that we miss a bit in Malta. So this national thing of support local, support the smaller shops.
It's not so big there.
We do like to go to the bigger brands, and I do understand the fascination with it because it is everything under one roof, and there's a whole experience. But there's a lot to supporting the smaller shops, the smaller corner shops as well. It gives a completely different dynamic to the locality where you live. They add so much character. It's so nice visiting them. It's not just an in and out. It's an experience going to the corner shop and having a chat with the exactly with the person behind the counter. It's
It becomes an
good.
institution. It becomes an institution of the town.
And it is healthy. And we do have a segment of the population that still rely on these shops. So I think a balance is always important. An example, a point that can be made is Valletta. How Valletta has changed and how we have seen these really nice characteristic shops leave Valletta because they felt they no longer had place. And I think it was a very big missed opportunity because Valletta should not just be there. Restaurants should be there, obviously, but these character shops that I used to work for a long time in Valletta, and we used to go shop for, I don't know, haberdashery, for our nuts to eat, nuts and spices. These add character, and it's important that we try and retain them in the locality because Malta is very big, obviously, on tourism. And seeing them as well leave our localities is a big opportunity for the country. It's not just isma, you're on your own. If you cannot complete, memx ta'amel, you're out, close shop and go work with someone else. We're losing a big opportunity in terms of the quality of the
Wasn't there a
island.
story recently? A storefront in Valletta disappeared overnight. Some classic storefront as well. You saw
There's
the
a
red
lot.
one.
Yes.
Every day we're literally losing, and it's not just a store. That's part of the heritage and culture.
There are also shops that have been there for decades. Over the past year or two, a few years, they've just been closing down one by one. And meanwhile, at the same time, new shops do open as well. But
if you go to Valletta now, and God bless to them, the Spar in the middle is hustling and bustling. Like I feel like everyone that goes to Valletta just goes to Spar now, and God bless to them. But like, is that the only store in Valletta now? And the thing is, like, a lot of people buying bread there. And to think that like there's Maltese places locally doing Maltese bread that are being ignored for the big chain. I think Maltese people just love chains. We just really love a big brand.
And I think we need to recognize that these smaller shops need a little bit more help. And
like
they need a little
help?
And need a little bit more assistance.
How
Being self-sustainable to help them in a certain level of updating.
Okay. Modernizing.
When
what
it
the
comes
signage,
to a bit possibly the signage, a bit of visibility that they can get more. On the digital front, they're not doing much, and they're competing with brands which are extremely aggressive. But again, it is a national interest, not because we want to give a helping hand. It is a national interest for these shops to remain. Because when we lose them from Valletta, when will we see them back?
Ciao.
Yeah.
We will see very small numbers back, like, I don't know, there is a shop that does items from leather goods.
Yeah.
That, it's so nice to see something like that. But what are the numbers that we see? And these add so much value to the capital city and everywhere else that it's a big loss for Malta when they close down.
Jump on.
Sorry, no.
So one thing I wanted to ask about, a bit of a funner topic. There's a lot of trendy ways online to make money quick. I don't know if you've seen things like drop shipping. Have you seen the rise of drop shipping? So this is something that we saw in America, UK, but also in Malta. I know a lot of kids who are turning to things like drop shipping to make money quick. What do you make of these kind of trendy internet ways of making money?
Yes, so we're all everyone is going out to become an influencer, and in reality, it has picked up so much that it's not easy to make money out of these. I think that every experience is a very valid experience. So these youths trying these things out, they should go for it, and they should be careful with the choices they make, so they don't spend the rest of their lives carrying certain burdens. But I think it's smart and good that you test the new opportunities out, and there are different quirks that youths are going towards, and I don't see anything wrong. But the reality is that we cannot all be influencers, and we still need to do our work in terms of schooling, certain jobs, and even we're seeing a phenomenon where people are moving jobs very, very frequently.
Yes, a lot.
Yeah.
So they maybe have this side hustle, because these side hustles are extremely popular at the moment, and they just go for the job just to have a job, and then as soon as they find a new opportunity, they move. And I understand that it's a completely different mindset to when I was young, because when I was young, we used to have these open weekends and open days of the fast food chains that we had back then in Malta, and we used to swarm, everyone trying to get some form of a job, a summer job there.
Yeah.
We don't see those situations
Everyone
anymore.
has a side hustle nowadays, basically.
Everyone
Nearly everyone
has
has
a
a
side
side hustle,
hustle.
right? It's nearly. I don't know many people who are at least driven who don't have a side hustle nowadays. I've had side hustles for years myself. Like, I think Malta kind of makes it like that. And whether it's in influencing, entertainment, there's a lot of side hustles to be had.
But I think at the same time, you need to be balanced and understand that staying, having a career
Yes.
and
But does that
moving
make
from
sense for
one
young people
step.
nowadays? Does it make sense?
I do believe so, because even if it is maybe not the best experience that you will get and not the funnest experience, there's always a lot that you learn. Moving from job to job too quickly will not give you the learning depth that you get.
But to push back, if you do like 30 years at the same job, and then you
30
end it,
years is different.
you know what I mean? And you end, they say, here's your cake, happy birthday, or whatever, thank you, enjoy your retirement, you're 65 or whatever. I feel like a lot of young people are like, that sounds like the worst case scenario, right?
For young people, 30 years is a lifetime.
Exactly. So
So
it makes
my personal record is 10.
10 is a
It's
number.
fine that
Then you
it
can change
wouldn't
jobs.
be 10. Yes, it's fine that it wouldn't be 10.
What?
But even if it is 3-4 years, at least you would
Yeah.
have been through enough cycles to be able to grow in the role.
Absolutely, yeah.
And to go through ups and downs that strengthen you as a person, and that give you skills that you can use as well in your side hustle. But I think people are moving a bit too quickly and not getting the tangible benefits that come with staying put long enough, and that's the difficulty. I think we can't stay put.
I agree with with your take. I think it's also a two-way street, in the sense that I think companies should also incentivize the people to stay and not to just assume that just because they've been there a few years, they're going to be
They're
there.
part of the furniture.
They're going to be
And
there
in
forever.
fact,
and
I really disagree with this notion that, young people don't want to work, they don't have a work ethic. I think that it is businesses that need to adapt to the
Yes.
new requirements and the new expectations, because at the end of the day, they are their clients, they are their employees. They need to adapt. They need to find a way to retain them, to keep them on. But it's, again, it takes two to tango.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of benefit in staying on.
Can I ask this? Because I remember this phenomenon of youths flocking around the McDonald's stalls and fast food stores to apply for a job.
Leaving CVs everywhere.
Yes, everywhere. Yeah, of course. What happened? Like, where are these youths now?
The internet happened.
But they're not all influencers. So I mean, they can't all be. What are they doing?
Well, it's not just influencing. A lot of people are filming and editing. A lot of people are doing marketing online. Like, there's a lot of digital happening.
Yeah,
There's just
for sure, but
In
not-
all forms, digital in all forms. Like, how many people do we know that film and edit?
Yeah.
There's tons of that, and it's something that you can do on your mobile now. You don't even need tech. You can just do it on Instagram. You can edit within Insta.
Yes, but not everyone's doing that though.
Not everyone, but I feel like that's an easy one. Like a lot of people in digital. If you're growing up with TikTok, if you spent all of COVID,
Yeah.
you know, as a teen on TikTok, by the time you hit 18, you know how to edit.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Basic, even if
I
it's
think
just
youths
doing
are
one.
punching higher than we used to do back then. We had
Absolutely.
different
They have
opportunities.
so many skills already.
So-
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
that level of jobs nowadays are not taken up by youths. Nowadays, you still, I don't know if you're studying to be a lawyer, if you're studying to be an architect, you end up taking work in the same field that you will be working later
Fair
on.
enough, fair enough, fair enough.
So that has completely gone. It's no longer being. The opportunities are different today, and it is the way certain countries go when they are developing, which is a model that has worked, like in countries like Luxembourg. This has worked successfully. But yes, it's very different from what we are used to. It doesn't mean that they have a different work ethic or they don't want to work as hard because
There's
they
different
don't spend
opportunities.
days.
As well. And
There's
I think-
different
I think
opportunities.
a lot of young people don't want to get a job where they feel like they're being wasted. I think this is a real big thing.
I
Like they don't
agree.
want to get a job where they're like, I am not learning, or I'm wasting my time, or it's a dead end job. I think that is like such a fear. Like if you go on your feed, everyone's in Dubai, everyone's having the time of their life, even if it's fake. So that's what you're competing with mentally, right? So
And I'm here stuck in this kitchen.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even though everyone spent the time in the kitchen, everyone.
Yeah.
When I was 14,
Yeah.
I was working as a waiter. You don't see that. That's not posted, right? So
Yeah.
so I feel for you, for young people, because they're shown a version of life and they're expected to get that life easy, and then they apply for a job and you know it's the bottom of the rung. But young people, keep striving. I believe in you guys. Listen, we only have a few minutes left, so let's start closing.
Yeah, yeah. I'd just like to get your opinion on the new Temu tax. And this, the fact that every category of item is now being charged €3 extra. Is this a good thing for business, for people? A lot of people are quite annoyed at it.
I understand the frustration, especially from a country like Malta, where we don't have our own manufacturing industry, so everything needs to be imported. Everything is a little bit more expensive, but I cannot be a fan of business and really support especially local business operators, and also be a fan of sustainability and say that this is not a just thing to happen. Unfortunately, we are being flooded with things being imported, with packaging, and there is the fascination of getting everything cheaper, but we're getting a lot of waste coming in as well, and a lot of unfair competition, because this is the Chinese government that is subsidizing heavily, and unfortunately we cannot do it and we cannot compete with it. But in reality, there is a lot of probably unintended consequence that we're getting a lot of waste. We're
Too
getting
many-
a lot of objects that have a short life cycle being thrown away and just replaced the following month.
Fast fashion.
Very fast fashion. I mean, it's not the way that we should be going towards. It's nice to have cheaper products accessible, but they need to be of a certain quality. Otherwise, there's a fee to go with it, because at the end of the day, it ends up in our landfill. We cannot want a higher standard Malta.
Yep.
And then we want this at the same time. They cannot coexist.
But first of all, like many businesses buy their stock directly from these sites as well, right?
There are, I think, some operators that do that. And it's been
Not
happening.
the big ones I'm seeing, but I do see sometimes like certain items, even at a kiosk, for example. You say, oh, like, what's this?
That's what I was going to tell you. This has been happening before Tim.
And obviously
started.
marked up by 10 times, if not more.
Yes.
That's a cheeky
Pro-
kiosk going on.
then it defeats the point that it's cheap
Yes.
and accessible.
Exactly.
But we do have, even nowadays, we do have these shops that are known that they have cheaper items.
Yeah.
You always know that out of 5 items, you'll get maybe one that will last a bit. But it's like this short-term
Yeah, thinking, you know.
Yeah.
intention that as long as I get them cheap,
I wear them 3, 4, 5
in
times.
reality,
that's
it will
it.
cost you more, because you'll end up rebuying it, it will break, it will end up trash in your home,
Yeah.
then you'll... So I think it's a very short-sighted strategy, and I think it's only fair that we end up paying for something that will cost Malta money in order to deal with.
Fair enough.
Last question from my end. Right before the election, the government had promised quite an exciting idea: a train linking St. Paul's Bay to the airport. Is this going to happen, do you think, or was it more a pre-election gimmick?
I think it must happen. We need to have some form of mass transport system, because we're all the time saying that we need to move from incentives to disincentives. We need to stop the big influx of cars that are registered on a yearly basis. We need to make people pay higher taxes. But at the end of the day, we don't have a mass transportation system that is efficient. The reality is that if we had to move to public transport today, it would take us still a long time to get from one place to the other. There's an overcrowded system going on as well. So I think we need to have this efficient mass transport system that then we can say, listen, people can really have a viable option. And I think people will start moving in the direction organically. But even if we had to start introducing certain disincentives and making maybe having your own car and your own transport more expensive, you can say that you have another option to go to, which is very, very viable. Not you're just being lumped with costs.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we don't have a national system that works.
Abigail Agius Mamo, thank you so much.
Thank you.